Hello YouTube, this is going to be a verbal tire review. I do not currently have the vehicle that these tires were on, but I have a good memory. So I had the Kenda Klever RTs on my 2015 F-150, and they're a pretty good tire, I'm not going to lie. Kenda used to specialize in mostly off-road tires for dirt bikes, ATVs, side-by-sides, along those lines. You know, real white people stuff. But not necessarily recently, but about a year or two ago, I'm not really sure, they ventured into on-road tires for mostly trucks. And I got the Kenda Klever RTs. At the time, I really wasn't wanting to spend a huge amount on a tire because I planned on trading my truck in, and I had already had tires on it previously, and I didn't really want to spend a lot on a tire. I kind of wanted a more economical tire, to be honest, because I planned on trading in the spring, and I did, and this was around October, about mid-October. And, you know, the tires I had on it then were the Michelin Defender LTX, great tire, and I really didn't want to spend that much money on the tires. But now the Kendas have gone up to the price of a lot of the other tires, so it's really not that much economical anymore, and I don't think they're worth it at the price point they are now, considering they have gone up. Just my thoughts. I still think it's better to, you know, get a more name brand tire, I guess you could say. Tires are one of those things that are very important on a vehicle, and I don't, you know, recommend anyone going cheap when it comes to tires. You know, save up, get the tire, but, you know, nonetheless, they did really good, honestly, on dry pavement. They did absolutely amazing. There was several times that I threw my truck into a corner. I really drove the truck as a race truck. I had, you know, suspension all the way around, tune, et cetera, cold air intake, things along those lines. And in reality, it probably didn't make but, you know, 5 more horsepower. But no, I had it on a pretty hot tune, and tires did excellent. They did great in the dry. That's what I want to say. First and foremost, these tires did amazing in the dry, amazing cornering in the dry, braking in the dry, extreme accelerations from a dead start in the dry. Very great, even with traction control off. Whereas a lot of tires would spin through first and chirp in second, these tires would chirp in first and not even give an ounce of chirp in second on dry pavement, on dry blacktop, dry concrete. They didn't have any issues at all. Where the issues on these tires really came up were in these, or in the wet and the snow, and mud and ice. You know, I'm not one of those guys that are on here that's going to really knock a tire for not doing good in ice, because it's ice and I didn't have studs on it, and it's ice at the end of the day. I think it's funny when these guys are like, it didn't do too good in the snow, you know, even though they'll mention a summer performance tire like a Michelin Super Sport or something like that. Like, it doesn't do too good in the snow. I'm like, it's a summer tire. It's a performance tire on cars that are rear wheel drive, you know, front engine. That kind of doesn't make sense to me, but oh well. It's kind of weird because they didn't hydroplane, but they would lock up kind of easy going in a straight line stop. In a straight line stop scenario, where someone, you know, would stop right in front of you at a red light, or when the light was going red. They just, you know, they'd grab on their brakes. The tires would skid a little bit, and on not necessarily aggressive, but more of a sporty, spirited takeoff in the rain or on the damp road, they would spin up a lot, actually. even when I was on just a regular tune, basically a stock tune, they would spin up pretty heavily through first, second, into third. They would spin up, me not really trying to spin up, but they would. They didn't hydroplane, and they did okay cornering. I didn't really have a lot of confidence in the front end when that happened. It's more of a mental confidence than rather I didn't think the truck would hold on, even though it did, which is nice. But I was still kind of weary and always cautious going around corners when it was wet, as one should. The snow, it did all right. There was not a lot of situations in which I just stayed in two-wheel drive and locked the rear. I mostly just put it in four-wheel drive because they would spin, they would lose traction in straight line and cornering in the snow. This is on and off-road in the snow, just so you know. And they did all right. Now, this is technically an all-terrain hybrid top tire. They did pretty good on gravel roads, but so does almost every other tire in the world does pretty good on gravel roads. They didn't really do too good in the mud. They did pack up of mud. There was some times when I was trying to do a hill climb section, I guess you could call it, and I really had to watch my line going up the hill. I didn't necessarily have to get a run at it. I had to really, play with the throttle to try to kind of keep the tires from spinning up. And they did okay. They weren't the best on those situations. On rocky situations, they really didn't do the best, to be honest. They would still spin up. There's plenty of biting edge on these tires, but there really isn't that much sopping. And I believe sopping helps a lot on the rocks too, because that sopping creates an extra biting edge. Sorry, my contacts are fogging up on me. It provides an extra biting edge, and then on top of that, they didn't really want to clear water. They didn't want to clear mud out. They did collect a lot of rocks. There really isn't any there's no rock ejectors in these tires, I should say. They do have places where you can put studs in it. I never did that because really when you put studs in once, it has, they come out and it kind of stretches it out, and the tire becomes damaged basically. And my next point on these tires, they are very loud. They are very loud. I had the 285, 55 R20s, and it was just a really loud tire. It was almost obnoxiously loud. You could hear me coming down the road from a mile away, honestly, and that's not even exaggerating. And the wear on them, the wear wasn't too good. Now, I do drive my vehicles quite spiritively, I guess is that a word? I don't know. And the wear on it wasn't really good. I didn't have a tire meter or anything like that, but from October to April, I went through a good quarter to a third of a tire. I did on the front and rear. I rotate my tires every oil change. So on my F-150, it was every 3,000 miles. It's just easy to do since the vehicle's already, kind of down, I guess you could say. So I rotated my tires plenty, and they still a lot of noise. They balanced really well, actually. They balanced really well on the wheel. No vibration, no vagueness in the steering wheel, no pull, nothing like that. No weird little bounce, no vibration, nothing like that. They balance really well, and I think they hold up really well too, as far as the sidewall goes. But the wear is really on the really less than subpar, actually, when you consider October, November, December, January, February, March. So 6 months on a tire, and I can't remember the mileage, how many miles I had on them, but for 6 months, losing a third of that, Probably the tire would only last me a year, and that's really subpar, especially coming from just a quarter ton, a half ton truck. It's really subpar. But like I said, they did excellent in the dry. Absolutely amazing in the dry. Honestly, this is probably one of the best dry driving conditions tire that there is out there for a truck, SUV. If you can find them in a car size, if you have like a crossover, something like that you kind of do some mild off-roading in, I think that'd probably be pretty good. Not probably a nice dry rally tire, but like I said, they really fail when the water comes out, when the wetness comes out. They really start to fail, and that's my biggest gripe with these tires. Personally, like I said, at this price point now, I wouldn't buy them, but it's just to help people out. Maybe you want to buy this tire, maybe you want to try it, maybe it does great for you, but it really doesn't do too good in the wet. It doesn't do too good in the snow. Doesn't do what no tire really does good on ice. So that's my video. Hope I could help somebody out.